Good evening. Depends on your location. It will be good afternoon for you. Uh, I'm attorney Jae Francis. I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer based in Chicago, but serving all 50 states. I do YouTube live show or streaming on every Thursday 5 p.m. Central Time. Now, I'm gonna talk about one of the popular ways to bring your loved one from overseas. We're gonna talk about K1 fiance visa option today. Now, I have a list of topics that I'm gonna talk today, but for those of you who are relatively new to fiance visa, then I'm gonna start with basic the eligibility in order to be eligible for fiance K1 visa, then you must be U.S. citizen. So only U.S. citizen is eligible to file this petition to bring your fiance from overseas to United States. If you're a permanent resident at this point, you need to wait. So number one, you need to be a U.S. citizen. Number two, both you and your foreign fiance must be legally free to get married. It means that, if you have a pending divorce, you need to wait. We're going to talk about this later. But it means that both of you, U.S. citizen and foreign fiance, must be free to get married. So that's number two. Number three requirement is that U.S. citizen petitioner and foreign fiance met in person within 2 years of filing this K1 petition. We had many consultations for potential K1 visa cases, and then one of the popular common issue is that U.S. citizen and then foreign fiance were in the U.S. together. Perhaps foreign fiance went to school, friends, not really romantic back then, maybe a little bit romantic, and then went separate ways. And then now, many years later, more than 2 years later, they like to start relationship and then, think about starting K1 fiance visa. Well, obviously, you need to, meet in person to be eligible for K1. There's other requirements, but these are the three simple eligibility required to start your K1 fiance visa. So number one, only for U.S. citizen petitioner, and number two, legally free to get married, and number three, in-person meeting within 2 years. Most common the questions and comments that we get for K1 fiance visa is how long does it take from the beginning to the end? And then they change over time. Well, obviously you may be watching this one later, but I'm recording this video live stream September 12th 2024. So if you watch this one later, then it'll be a different time. So I'm gonna walk you through right now in September 2024 from the beginning to the end. It means that filing of 129F petition and then your fiance come to US is about 6 months. It's case by case because I'm going to talk about this later. After 129F petition is approved, and then you need to wait a little bit to get National Visa Center case number. From that point on, you control the timing, processing time, because you'll be able to schedule interview in most cases, except some few exceptions. And sometime U.S. Embassy will notify you that they're not really ready to process K1 case because for many different reasons. So there are some exceptions, but in most cases, you'll be able to schedule interview. If you are committed to your K1 fiance visa case, if your attorneys helping you really well, then usually it's a 6 month, but it may take longer. Now, main culprit of this lengthy process in the past, both USCIS and then embassies. So let's talk about what happened in the past. Before COVID, from the beginning to the end, 6 months. So as you can see, we went back to pre-COVID K1 processing time, which is really good. But because of the COVID, USCIS, especially the K1 129F petition went to California Service Center. Like it took forever. They started, hey, it's gonna take 1 year, 14 months and 16 months, and they just like took forever. And then, just it is one thing that you deal with USCIS processing delays. Then, if you remember that during the COVID, various consular posts shut down, right? They didn't work at all. They completely shut down. And they say that K1 fiance visa cases are routine cases, and then it's not emergent cases, and they refuse to entertain scheduling interview for K1. So both USCIS and then consular posts were responsible for using COVID as a explanation for super prolonged K1 processing time. Like we're talking more than 16, 18 months. Well, obviously, whether it's before COVID, during COVID, or now, if you have some issues in your case, then it's going to take longer after interview, right? 221G, admin processing is a possibility. I'm going to talk about some of the common issues that you're going to encounter when you have a K1 fiance visa. So, repeat, sum it up. Before COVID, 6 months. During COVID, like 16 up to 2 years. Now is 6 months. And also, you should factor that some countries, it takes more time for you to schedule, K1 interview. So I mentioned previously, I'll circle back to this, that you'll be able to schedule K1 fiance visa interview in most cases. But if your fiance lives in Mexico, in most cases, U.S. consulate in Juarez will schedule interview for you, and there is a little bit additional wait time if you happen to live in Mexico. Now, so let's talk about process overview. What are the steps that you need to start and complete your K1 fiance visa successfully? As I mentioned that, you need to start with a 129F petition. There is no requirement that U.S. citizen petitioner must be in the U.S. So, U.S. citizen may be overseas, maybe serving the military, thinking about coming to U.S. That's a possibility. There's no issue. But petitioner must be U.S. citizen. So you start with 129F petition with the USCIS. Right now, it takes about 3 months. We have some cases took about 2 months, between 2 month and 3 months, but average would be the 3 month for 129F. Now, when 129F is approved, right, then you need to wait a little bit to get National Visa Center case number, up to 30 days. But in the past, it took longer or quicker. Usually 30-day wait time is expected. When National Visa Center creates a case number, then it'll be emailed to fiancé and then your attorney. So that's like second step. But the National Visa Center doesn't review your case, unlike spouse visa. They're like a middleman. They're transferring case from USCIS to consular post, but unlike immigrant visa cases like spouse visa, they don't review. But you absolutely need National Visa Center case number. Now, when you have a National Visa Center case number, then you're moving into consular process stage of your case, right? You need to fill out DS-160 application, which is an online application for your fiancé. You should, submit complete, accurate information. Also, you'll be able to schedule interview in most cases, as I mentioned. Then, like a Latin America is a US travel info dot com, and then rest of the countries it is US travel dot website. And then you schedule interviews, and then you pay this visa fee, and then you schedule when your visa will be delivered to you. So that's how you schedule an interview. Now, when interview scheduled, then there is a multiple appointments you need to complete. Number one, a medical exam. You need to find what they call panel physician, right? Consular post designated and approved medical doctor's office to complete the medical exam. So medical exam. Number two, in most cases, there will be a biometrics, capturing fingerprints for background check. And then number three, um, this is a little bit case by case. Some cases you're gonna have a one main interview or appointment for a document submission and interview with a consular officer, or it can be different dates for document submission and then interview with a consular officer. Check with your local consular post. Sometimes they don't tell you. For example, you assume that it'll be one appointment in terms of document submission, review, and interview, but you go there and then you'll be surprised that there is another follow-up appointment for you. So very important to check whether there's additional appointment for you for your interview. Now, when interview is completed, in most cases, then officer will retain your passport because they need to print the K1 visa. And then if the officer doesn't approve your case or they need more information, your passport will be returned back to you. And then you may be given 221G admin processing notice, or even consular officer may say that you're subject to inadmissibility. It means that you probably need to go through a 601 waiver, 601 waiver to fix inadmissibility in order for you to come to United States. So that would be overview. And then when your visa is approved and then when you have it, you have about 6 months to come to United States. When you come to United States, the drama and show, you have a 90 days to get married, civil marriage, and then you need to apply for a green card. So I gave you really basic overview of how long it takes, and then this breakdown of each stages of your K1. Now I'm gonna talk about number one important supporting documents that you need for K1. Obviously, it's a case by case. We have some clients that we met, who met multiple times. We have a clients who live together in the U.S., right? And because the typical K1, right, would be your fiance living overseas. But we have some K1 cases that U.S. citizen and then foreign fiance live together in the America within 2 years. So that's a possibility. But now the example that I'm gonna cover today will be your fiance living overseas and the U.S. citizen flew to meet him or her in person. So let's talk about joint trip documents as illustration of how you present strong relationship documents. Just remember that not many people meet multiple times, usually only once, right? So before you meet in person, you probably found each other through social media or dating apps, multiple video meetings and textings and all this. And finally, you flew to meet your fiance in person. Obviously, with this, you're gonna generate flight itinerary, right? So that's really important document. In fact, all these U.S. citizen petitioners trip documents would be 1/3 of the process, 1/3 of the supporting documents. So flight itineraries. Number two, when you enter a foreign country, unless you go to a certain country, like there's no visa stamps, no entry stamps. you're gonna get entry and departure stamps on your passport. So make sure that you submit, entry and departure stamps on your passport. Number two. Number three, depends on how you spend your time. Sometimes you stay in hotel. When you stay in hotel overseas, then you'll be able to generate hotel reservation. But in most cases, if you stay in nice hotel overseas, they're gonna give you sort of like a thank you letter. For example, thank you so much for staying at our hotel, and then we wish that you can come back later, included. If I were you, I will try to use credit cards instead of cash, because I know that in some countries they don't take credit card, but if you go to hotels, they will take credit cards. So bring your fiance into nice hotel restaurant and then just swipe your credit card, because when you submit your credit card statement, it's gonna show. For example, you went to Bangkok, Thailand, and then there's a foreign transaction happening in Bangkok, Thailand. So it's gonna support your trip documents. That is illustration that you went there and spent some time. There's also important supporting documents, but I'm gonna make another video about the K1. Perhaps all about supporting documents later. But today, I wanted to give you overview. So that's like one example of good, important supporting documents for your K1 fiance visa. So let's pause a little bit. And in fact, I'm gonna drink some water. Just give me 1 second. And compare K1 fiance visa and CR1 spouse visa, because that's really important decision you need to consider and then think about it, because sometimes we have potential clients living overseas. Like I said, your base station in military bases like Japan, or you've been teaching English overseas and you met your fiance, and then you're thinking about whether we should get married to start the spouse visa, or we're going to America together and as a fiance visa. I'm both good options, but you need to factor and think about multiple consideration. So let's talk about some of the important consideration that you need when you decide whether you're going to go with K1 fiance visa or CR1 spouse visa. Number one, timing and location of marriage, right? If you are thinking about getting married in foreign country, so for example, your girlfriend's family say that we're not sending our daughter to America without you have proper wedding ceremony and then bringing families and friends, then you need a spouse visa, because you're gonna get married and then start your spouse visa. But if your fiance's family, then they don't mind sending sons and daughter to in the United States initially, then fiance visa makes sense. So the spouse visa, you get married first. Fiance visa, you get married at the end, right? And then that's the timing. And then location, most cases spouse visa, you're gonna get married overseas, and then fiance visa, you're gonna get married inside the United States. Number two, different processing time. The fiance visa right now is way faster. I say 6 months. Spouse visa, it means that your spouse overseas takes between 12 and 18 months. So it's a slower process. But if your spouse has a job overseas, has some commitment, maybe parents ill, and then stay to take care of them, then spouse visa would be good. Or sometime you like to come together, and then that's good option as well. Also, you need to think about how much it's going to cost. A fiance visa, as you know, that after successful fiance visa, then you come to US and get married, and then you need to apply for green card. And as you know, after April 1st of 2024, USCIS filing fee for K1 based green card application adjustment of the status fee became quite expensive. So if you end up working with attorney, you need to pay attorney fee for K1, and then K1 base adjustment of the status, and then there's a filing fee for K1, and then K1 base adjustment of the status. In contrast, CR1 spouse visa, one process, right? So it's a little bit cheaper. There's no second process to follow up. Also, the final consideration you may have is that if you're from certain countries like Philippines, they don't allow same-sex marriage, right? So there's no way you can get married if you are a same-sex couple. So only way to bring your, fiance to US if you're from Philippines is to go through fiance visa. Now, for remainder of this, meetings in the live, I'm gonna talk about common issues that you need to be aware and sometimes avoid, and then I'm gonna go through some of them. As I mentioned, then I will be making another K1 visa, spouse visa, marriage green cards, and all this later. But for now, let's talk about most common issues that you need to be aware, you need to be careful of, and sometimes you need to avoid. So let's start with some of them today. Number one, finalize a divorce. So if you are still separated or going through a divorce proceeding, you're not able to start 129F petition. It means that at the time of filing your 129F petition, your divorce must be finalized. So very important. Some people think that, well, we're not getting married anyway. K1 takes about 6 months. Can you start now while my divorce is still in progress? Answer is absolutely no. Your divorce must be finalized before you submit 129F petition. Number two, what if your fiance is from or living very culturally conservative countries? It can be religiously conservative, like Muslims, or India, culturally very conservative. Then you need to be very careful with this. Now, for example, you flew from America and went to, just illustration, India. Instead of staying at your relative's family and then your fiance stays her parents' family, if you stay in hotel and then just like have a good time as an American boyfriend girlfriend, then you're going to have a lot of issues, because before you get married in India, you're not supposed to have this type of relationship. Another occasion would be your fiance lives like far from Mumbai, India, and then you love that person, so you flew to her hometown or his hometown, and then you flew to Mumbai and stay in hotel right before interview, because as I explained, there's a multiple appointments. You like to protect your fiance and you love each other. Perhaps you're thinking, well, we're gonna fly together, we're gonna stay in hotel, I'm gonna use credit card, must be good relationship document. That is wrong. If you act like American boyfriend girlfriend in India, your case will put it into 221G, because they believe that you acted like married couple. Don't do it. Another example would be if you're from very orthodox, culturally like conservative Muslim countries, you're not supposed to date as American boyfriend girlfriend. You should be dating under control, segregated, right? And you shouldn't just like stay together at will. So you need to be very careful. So that's the second common issues. So just once again, right, if you act like a married couple, then your case could be denied or put it into 221G. Number three, what if Trump's come back, right? I mean, so I'm recording this one in September. We are going to have an election in November. There is no guarantee that we're going to have a clear winner. But I think that by January, right, we're going to know who's going to be next president. So what if Trump's come back? Will K1 case take longer? Will K1 case more difficult? That's possibility. So let's talk about what happened to K1 cases under Trump. Number one, you probably remember Muslim travel ban, right? So then under his first presidency, his administration wanted to make it very difficult for the residents living predominantly in Muslim countries. It's called Muslim travel ban, and there's exception, right? There's exception. Exceptions were spouses of U.S. citizens, but it was kind of muddy whether K1 fiance visa would be exception to that travel ban. The answer was it was one of the exception, but we don't know whether there will be another travel ban. It can be something else, but just be careful because he's going to impose some sort of potentially travel ban if he comes back. Number two, for those of you who remember his presidency, he supercharged a public charge. It means that if you are not making enough money, if you need a joint sponsor, then it was a little bit more difficult to get approval. Now, you probably know that you need to submit I-134 affidavit of support for this case to the interview, right? Not initially, but to interview. If Trump's come back and then say, well, I'm just finished up the college, I didn't make enough money previous year, I'm just starting, looking for job, but my parents have enough money, my friends have enough money, can I go with a joint sponsor? You may, but it can be a difficult case because under his Trumpian public charge, having joint sponsor wasn't insufficient. You should have enough money to avoid any difficulty under Trump's immigration policy. So watch out. If Trump's come back, then it can be a very different process. But once again, I like to be fair to him, right? It wasn't him who slowed down the K1 case. It was a COVID. But obviously, many immigration agencies use COVID as excuse to slow down, shut down, and avoid case processing. So this is out there, right? We're not really done with pandemic or endemic of sort. So it's out there. Now, drug testing. Um, when your foreign spouse goes for medical exam, drug testing will be done. And then maybe you're maybe using drugs for fun, just like all this occasion light one, and then when you do urine test and it comes out positive, you know what's going to happen. You need to come back to in medical exam 1 year later. It means that there's like a 1 year delay if you're caught. Now, if you go back there 1 year later, will they approve your case? There's no guarantee. So stay away from controlled substance because there will be drug testing and then it'll come out and it's going to bite and delay and potentially deny your case. Very important. And then you need to be absolutely careful. Now, what about U.S. citizen, right? I mean, you're a U.S. citizen. You may think that, well, I don't need to worry about my criminal records. That's not true. So, in order to protect well-being and interest of foreign fiancés, USCIS will require U.S. citizen petitioners to disclose non-traffic criminal records. And then if you have a certain criminal records, then sometimes you don't even have a case. So if you have a certain criminal records, you need to be very careful with submitting your K1 fiance visa. But in most cases, if it's not serious, then you absolutely need to submit a final disposition. The final disposition is the summary of your criminal record from the beginning to the end. It is required. So let's say you forgot or you didn't know about this and then you submitted your case without criminal records. Then USCIS will issue the request for evidence. And then they usually give you 87 days to respond. So if this happened long time ago away from your home state, then it's going to take some time. I mean, you think that 87 days enough? Sometimes it's not. So it is absolutely important to check your criminal records and then include final dispositions before you submit 129F. Find them, include them, and explain in your 129F petition. Now, so let's say you enter the US with a fiance visa, right? And then you have a 90 days to get married. You met one time, two times, you video chat, text message every day, but living together full time is different experience, right? Who's gonna cook, who's gonna clean, um, and then sometime your U.S. citizen petitioner works all the time, not working from home in office, and you're at home, and you're not sure about this relationship. It was rosy, lovely, but now when you're dealing with mundane lives together in America, I mean, we're from Chicago. Winter's hard, right? You're stuck inside unless you enjoy winter sports. And then, there's a gray skies, looks gloomy, it's cold. If you're from certain, like a Latin American country like Ecuador, wow, this is like punishing, depressing. And then you say that, well, this is not for me. Then what do? So let's talk about this. You enter with a K1 fiance visa, but you are not getting married. You're not getting married, period. This is not working for us. You can be by US citizen petitioner or foreign fiance, so this is not for us. Then unfortunately, only option for foreign fiance is to go back to the country. Go back to the country. We got a lot of inquiries that, well, I came with a fiance, the relationship didn't work, but I got married to another US citizen. Can I apply for green card? Unfortunately, the answer is no, no. So the K1 129F petitioner and then adjustment of the status, husband or spouse must be the same, must be the same. I'm gonna talk about one more variation, and then I'm gonna wrap up this, video stream. What if you come to U.S. with a fiance visa, but whatever reasons, then you didn't get married within 90 days. 90 days is absolutely mandatory. Let's say you got married, 5 months later. What happened to you? Then what happened is that instead of going through adjustment of the status based upon approved 129F petition, you go with I-130 petition. So brand new marriage green card case. So good news is that you'll be able to submit your green card application, but not based upon 129F, but it'll be brand new I-130. So thank you so much for watching these YouTube videos. And then we're gonna talk about different topics next time. But have a good rest of the Thursday. As you know that Buffalo Bills playing today against the Miami Dolphins, and then it's gonna be exciting Thursday night. Thank you so much for watching.